Pokémon Sword and Shield have been at the forefront of extreme controversy. From Game Freak removing a big chunk of the Pokedex, to the reasoning for making better animations as to why these Pokemon were dropped, fans have been both defending and attacking this game. Rightfully so, this review will be focused on both sides, addressing issues with both gameplay and graphics, and expressing if the dropped Pokemon mechanics and previous game support were worth the trade-off for the Galar region. With many people wanting to remain spoiler-free, I will do my best to keep this review as light as possible on that, but do realize that some things I will be discussing here have already been revealed in both trailers and gameplay. So, let's get right into the review. I will, as always, be reviewing this with the 5 pillars of gaming in mind: graphics, gameplay, control, sound, and story. The setup here is simple: a Pokemon adventure where you choose your starter, go capture more Pokemon, beat 8 gym leaders, save the world against a bad monster, maybe some bad guys who learn that being friends with Pokemon is better than ruling the world / destroying the world. Okay, typical Pokemon game. I don't mean to gloss over this, but I really cannot stress how typical of a Pokemon game this is, and if I went any deeper in the story, it would spoil a lot for those who are watching this to see if they want to buy it or not. Gotta Catch 'em All only applies to the Pokemon here. While there has been a massive drop, the trade-off is that you no longer have to spend hours migrating your Pokemon through ridiculous minigames, or trying to capture that Pokemon which only appears 1% of the time in a cave somewhere. Some trainers enjoy that. It's a badge of honor, and you might have a shiny Dunsparce or a Kangaskhan, and other trainers know that it's very hard to catch those Pokemon. Something like a Chansey or a Tauros from the Safari Zone. Badges of honor. Here, that is cut in half with the removal of the expanded dex, and to compound down the issue, Game Freak has put in Pokemon that they wanted people to use. Are these Pokemon better or worse? Well, I don't really know. Some people are upset that an ice cream cone could be in the game, but their favorite Pokemon can't. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Missing Pokemon or not, there are no plans for DLC or expanded National Dex later. So if your favorite is in or not, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Many of people's favorites aren't going to be added in anyways. You are trading these Pokemon and mechanics like Mega Evolution and Z-Moves for many newly tweaked mechanics, such as fast travel, being a seamless transportation, which is nice for when you don't want to walk back to a certain part if you don't happen to have a flying Pokemon with you and you can't teleport for whatever reason. Skippable tutorials, which allow players to jump into the game without being taught how to, so no walling needed this time. No load screens, despite the game being a massive open world for you to explore. Almost all of the Pokemon you encounter are seen before you encounter them. There are wild battles, yes, but they do not make up the majority of the battles. You can actually see what Pokemon you're going to battle before you battle it. Weather and Pokemon appearing during those times is now a much greater focus. And while the developers saw fit to drop Mega Evolution and the Z-Moves, they were directly replaced by Dynamaxing, which makes Pokemon grow giant and increases the stats and the moves, and sometimes changes what the Pokemon looks like for a set number of turns, usually around 3. But to me, this is personally lazy, because in this instance, outside the unique Dynamaxing, all that is required is to change the size and portions of the said Pokemon, and boom, new Pokemon. That's a mechanic. So instead of making a unique stone quest, possibly Pokemon designed for Mega, or animations for Z-Move, or Z-Moves, these max raid battles are what you get, and these Dynamax Pokemon are what you get. And the max raid battles do require quite a bit of strategy, and act more like boss encounters than anything else, yet seem extremely cheap to me. A giant otherwise trash Pokemon like Togepi could destroy your team due to the buffs it receives from this, which would make you feel very weak if you were even 20 levels higher and you still lost because the Pokemon was just Dynamaxed. That's pretty rough. I would not feel as cheated if, say, it was always a final evolution, but oftentimes it's not. There are also experience candies that are available for those who do not want to grind and train up their Pokemon, making it much easier to raise Pokemon. A trainer might want to try out and not waste their time on that Pokemon. They can just use those candies. A lot of these mechanics are pulled from Let's Go, so if you're used to them from the Nintendo Switch, you'll be right at home here. This game is a massive improvement from the Nintendo 3DS. However, it fails in many aspects. The game fails to maintain frames in certain situations due to the graphical load. There's pop-in for trainers. Areas are clearly separated loading zones, which is why you can see the pop-in so easily. There are serious shadow problems, making the shadows look very jagged and rough. These are things that a PC player would point out normally. Like me, I play a lot of PC games, so I can see it pretty easily. They don't completely destroy the game at all, but it is very comparable to Zelda Breath of the Wild. So if you played that or you've seen that, you know what you're getting into when you play this game. Yet the problem is that Game Freak explained the reason for a lot of these changes with the game were that they were making it so unique and new animations for Pokemon from scratch, etc., etc. Unfortunately, many of the animations are dull and boring applied across the board to Pokemon, like Tail Whip or Double Kick. And there has even been a debate over if these Pokemon are created from scratch or just reused animations from a previous game. So this left the community in a split, thus leaving you as a person playing the game to determine if all the cutbacks were worth how this game looks and what they did with it. You ever had problems before with controls in Pokemon games? Well, I've got good news for you, okay? The controls don't force some ridiculous motion-based controller upon you, okay? Because it would be crazy to be forced to pretend to capture a Pokemon with a controller. Almost demeaning, as if this didn't happen in a game that was already released on the Switch. But wait, it did, and I suppose they learned their lesson. That's why that's not the only way to play the game. On a serious note, it really does work fine with a Nintendo Switch controller, so there's no issues. It sounds good. Yeah, this Pokemon has great memorable tunes with the same sound effects you've come to expect. The super effective noise, the tunes you hum to yourself in your head, it's all here. It sounds even better with headphones on. So that's something that you can do if you're really into music. I really don't have anything to say about the music. There's not really anything to talk about with it, so it's really on you if you like the tunes or not. So my overall thoughts for this. I don't at all think that the trade-offs were worth it. Basically, you're losing a massive chunk of Pokemon, which was endgame for many people. And sure, there is an endgame in this, but is it the endgame that you wanted? Perhaps you really don't do a lot of the endgame content, but you just catch all the Pokemon. Perhaps you do the endgame content and you don't catch any, so this isn't a big deal for you. You're also losing the Mega Evolutions and Z-moves in exchange for discount Godzilla mechanics. If you are a person who plays the game and finishes the game and you're done with it, you know, all these changes will probably mean next to nothing for you. Unless you really are about the experience, you really wanted those Megas, you really wanted those Z-moves, fine. You'll be upset. But for people who just plop the game in, play it occasionally, they're done with it in a week, never touched again, it probably won't have an issue with these mechanics, these moves, these changes at all. But for those who look for massive endgame, they want unique teams, unique tactics, they're all about completing the game, this game's probably going to annoy you. If you're a hardcore Pokemon fan, you like to grab all kinds of Pokemon, make various different things out of them for whatever reason. That's your choice. That's what you do. That's your end game. You're going to be suffering. You're missing half of the Pokedex about. You're missing a massive chunk of the Pokedex. Where'd it go? It's going to suck for you. I hope they make another Pokemon game really soon, because you're probably going to be completely done with this one and just competing online. And eventually that will probably become quite stale for you. So I'm sorry. I give this game a C+. It's average. Pokemon experience, I mean, I don't know. At worst, players will find a lack of things to do, leading them to be very annoyed at investing a great amount of time and money into this game without feeling a great value. Currently, you could buy yourself Ultra Sun and Moon and a Nintendo 3DS versus Sword and Shield on Nintendo Switch and save quite a lot of money. So do you think the trade-offs are worth it? Would you rather save the money and just get a 3DS version, skip this game, or wait for it to come down in price? It's really what I would like to hear from you in the comments down below. Do you think I gave this a fair assessment? I think it's a mundane, mediocre Pokemon game. It has everything from previous Pokemon games, minus a few features and some cut Pokemon, and the reasons and the excuses for them are pretty lame and pretty crappy. But that's my opinion, and yours is most important as well. Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and share this video, because it's absolutely free to support me. Now, I've been yours, Protomario, and I'm signing out, and I'm going to go ahead and play the other version, as I've already played through one of them.